Welcome to Blockchain in the Metaverse. I'm your host, Futurist Amelia Kallman. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Maura Welch, who is the VP of Marketing at Together Labs. Together Labs is a company redefining social networking by pairing blockchain with technologies that empower users to connect, create, and earn in the metaverse. The Together Labs portfolio includes InView, the world's largest social metaverse platform with over 1 million daily users. With Me, a mobile metaverse platform now in open beta, and MetaJuice, which builds blockchain-driven assets such as NFTs and meta tokens. Recently, MetaJuice have announced that they will be including NFTs into the IMVU marketplace. I can't wait to hear about this, as well as some of the exciting new collaborations they have coming up when it comes to fashion. So Maura, welcome so much. Thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you, Amelia. I'm really happy to be here.
I am thrilled to finally talk to you. Yeah, thank you. So just to start, can you tell us a bit more about yourself and your background and how you got into this industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I've worked in the virtual world space off and on my entire career. So ever since it's sort of been at the very beginning when we were starting to try to figure out how we were going to have an ownership model for brands on the internet in the very, very beginning. And then moving on to starting up virtual world spaces with avatars. Did that in the Web 2 era, where we had avatars that were active in chat software like AIM and Skype. And then we created a world where these two-dimensional cartoon characters could meet, and it became a hit teen tween site. So did that for a while, then did some other brand work for TripAdvisor and other companies. And then came back to the virtual world space a couple of years ago, working on Together Labs' products to bring kind of the next generation of the metaverse to life. InView's been in the business of the metaverse for 18 years. So I kind of think of InView as the OG of the metaverse, right? So it's really exciting to come back and into the virtual world space for me and really think about how we're going to continue to build out the metaverse as we move into the future and as technologies have improved. We're really, really excited about the blockchain as an opportunity to build that sense of ownership in the digital space.
Ever since I've been following you guys, there's always something new happening. There's some new innovation, a milestone. You're really killing it in this industry. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, excited. Great team.
Yeah, wondering if you could tell me a bit more about the InView audience, as well as what it is about InView that makes 1 million people use it every day.
Right. I mean, it's been going strong for so long. And I think the strength and the core of the entire community is actually the people, the community, and the creators that bring incredible creativity and experiences to the platform. So every single thing on InView is created by the users and creators themselves. So that goes for the over 40,000 rooms that we have active at any given time. That we have over 200,000 active creators that are uploading tens of thousands of items per day to our catalog of over 55 million items. So it is one of these sort of very thriving virtual metaverses. And I actually think the thing that has really powered InView is, and we carry this philosophy throughout all of our products, it's our job to provide the platform for users to be able to create their communities. And that is what InView's strength is that we are just providing the tools to allow people to make the items for rooms, the clothing, the hairstyles, the body shapes, all of the things that they want to do to authentically express themselves and connect with each other. And then it just continues to make itself and evolve as time goes by. So any of our new platforms that we're building, including With Me, are based on that same philosophy. And now with blockchain in the mix, which, as I was saying before, I've been in this space a long time, and we have always been looking for a method to own goods. InView has a really strong one right now with virtual goods, where we actually have a model that we built that allows the items that are created by creators to have what we call a derivation chain. So if you started something and somebody takes your item and modifies it, you still get royalties back to you. That's the beginning of an ownership model and part of the strength of InView. But now with the introduction of NFTs, which is coming later this year on InView, we're really excited, and we're working super closely, MetaJuice and InView together under the Together Labs umbrella, to really empower our users now to have the choice. If they would like to connect their items to the blockchain, they can mint NFTs, or they can create regular virtual goods. It's totally up to them. And the rationale for doing that has everything to do with empowering the creators to continue to build their business and to give choice and earning potential actually for owners. If you think about it, you can buy virtual goods, right, anywhere. And the way that we sell them on InView, they can be sold infinitely, which is the great news, right? You can sell thousands and thousands of these items, but rarity and true ownership is tricky, right? Like we want to solve the problems of how do I create limited runs? How do I create rarity? Even if we have, like, let's say that we have an item that can be sold over 10,000 times, that's totally fine. But as a buyer in the previous round, you know, in virtual goods, I can't resell that item easily. It's just not something that is done. But once I own it, just like if I buy this shirt, I can resell it in a thrift store. You can do the same with NFTs. And that's what we're doing on IMVU to really activate the creator community and give users more choices.
That's amazing. So I love that idea about giving people who are already being creative and developing their own brands within these spaces an opportunity to then earn off of that as well. So will the NFT marketplace be selling all the creators' goods as well as brand goods? Can you tell me a bit more about how that works?
Sure. We do work with brands, and we're working with them more and more as we move into the NFT space. So brands, the way that we work with brands is an authentic integration into the community. So I actually think there's an awful lot of folks out there who are just like dropping brands into these thriving communities without integration, without the community being a part of that. We see it very differently. We believe that the community is the core. And so we bring brands together with creators. We actually pair each brand up with a creator, sort of their team, who's going to not only co-create and build the items together with them, but also then become the influencers. They're going to help get the word out to the community that these are things that everybody should hang on to and pay attention to. So it becomes like a celebration inside of the community, instead of sort of just dropping a brand into like a branded room into something and just saying, hey, here's a bunch of stuff, you know, like slap a logo on a t-shirt and be done. A great example of that is last year, we hosted what Vogue magazine called the first Metaverse runway show. And what we did was we worked with 5 or 6 emerging real life fashion designers like Maura and a bunch of different ones. And what we did was like I said, we paired them up with our creator community. So they co-created these new and unique items that had never existed before in the real world, which is fascinating. So, you know, they were able to collaborate in a really interesting way. And then we did have a show where they could walk inside of all of these custom built rooms and have this runway show, which we filmed and distributed. It was fascinating to see how that came together. And I think it's really a model for how brands should be working together with metaverse properties like ours.
Absolutely. And what an amazing experience for those creators to get to work directly with brands. That's kind of unheard of. That's, you know, unprecedented and really, really special. Yeah. You mentioned a bit about fashion and its influence. So I think fashion real life obviously influences fashion in the digital realm, but now are you seeing it having the reverse effect? Are we starting to see the digital realm influencing fashion in real life?
Absolutely. And in fact, there's a great story from our fashion show about that. Kalina Strada is an amazing avant-garde designer, right? And the design team had been working on different, they have these anamorph kind of things where it's like clothing that looks a bit like animals. And they've been experimenting with all of that for a while. But when they came into that collaboration process with InView designers, where these items could move and animate in interesting and different ways that maybe in the real world could not, they started creating this sort of horse dress project. And that was great. And that came through in the fashion show and walked the runway on InView and all of that. But what was fascinating is the Met Gala was not very long after that. And we saw Kalina Strada walk one of these now in real life horse dresses, which was modified. It was like just another derivation of that same design concept, walking down the Met Gala steps. Wow. So it's like, I think that is what we're going to see as we move into the future. And you're starting to see it a lot where, some folks are doing paired fashion, where they're like digital twins. So you might buy a digital item that has a link to purchase a real life item, or vice versa. You buy a real life item and there's a digital companion for it. So I see that stuff is starting to happen. And I think we're also seeing trends start in the metaverse space, just like we're seeing, like it's happening in the social space too, right? With trends starting on TikTok and they make their way into the real world. We're seeing the same thing happen on the metaverse, where trends start on the metaverse and then move their way into the real world. And they go both ways, but I think it's really interesting for people. There's always all these conversations about what is the metaverse and what is this, like it's this some foreign thing. But actually the metaverse is just like our real world. It's actually a reflection of our real world in a digital space. And of course we can fly around and do things we can't do in the real world, which is always fun. But really underlying all of it, we actually see the metaverse as a meta society, right? And that's why we're so completely invested in the two really important tenets of that. One is human connection, right? We need to be able to connect with each other authentically and in a good way. Look at us, we're on Zoom right now. We're living in the virtual space all the time. We need to build a virtual space that we all want to be a part of, right? So we need to get ahead of that. We need to make sure it's designed for human connection. If you think about social media today, it's not designed for human connection. It's asynchronous. You're posting your favorite, you're giving me a fear of missing out because I'm seeing your perfect life on Instagram. It's not you, it's an idea of you. And it has led to some really not such great trends that actually, instead of pulling people together and being quote social, it's actually pulling people apart and siloing them. So what's interesting about the metaverse is it's just like real life. When you walk into a space, just like we are today, we're two humans talking to each other. We might be represented by an avatar, but we're two people. So we see it's really, really important to architect from the ground up for how humans connect, for how humans become friends, right? So that's a key part of every platform that we have. And then we pair that now with the power of the blockchain so that we can know true ownership, so that there can be earning and reselling and have a true and thriving community. So those two things are what every society needs, right? A strong marketplace and a strong way of sort of having, a social environment that's healthy for humans.
Absolutely. I know that HBO Max has a documentary coming out called We Met in Virtual Reality that is about, during lockdown, people meeting in a metaverse space.
Yeah.
And the emotional connections are real, and these friendships 100%. And relationships are completely real. I think it's interesting because what some of the feedback I get from my corporate clients who are in metaverse spaces are that in these spaces, you don't necessarily see someone for how old they are or, what their background or their ethnicity or, you don't see those things because you have an avatar, and it actually makes people feel a lot more equal and a lot more seen. I have a question about it though, because I know that, when I go into InView, I have this beautiful avatar who has a perfect body and perfect hair and perfect skin. And I think it can be quite empowering, but at the same time, are we making it so that our real lives are never going to live up to our virtual lives? And is this something that we should be concerned about?
Well, it's interesting. It's sort of like again, parallels in the real world. Do you think that all those Instagram photos are real?
Good
They're
point.
not.
Yeah,
You know,
good
so
point.
I think it's really important to realize as humans and as people now in a digital space, everything is morphable in a digital environment. So even now we have morphing of video, right? So is that really truly the celebrity, or is that just a video of the celebrity? So I think a couple of things have to happen, and I see it happening more and more in education and schools, et cetera, of really educating us as users. And actually, the older you are, the more easily confused you are by it. The younger generation actually really gets it. But we really need to educate and be media savvy, right? So number one, we need to understand when something's being authentic or not. And it is difficult to tell sometimes. But I will say that what we see on InView and also on With Me, which With Me has been over the last year kind of working a lot with teens. And again, I say like this generation of teens is the most progressive, most open, most body positive generation to come, right? They actually lived through they're the product of all of the downside of what's happened with body image through social media and other ways. So they're like not okay with that. Like one of their biggest requests is, I want to be able to be body positive. I want to have a larger body, a medium body. I want to be able to customize my body. InView has tools that allow for that. So we do start users out with a set of body types, but that can be morphed and changed. So among these 55 million items, you can buy different body sizes. So we have people that are all different sizes and shapes. And it's great to see creators helping people to really actually authentically connect with the body shapes that they feel most comfortable with. So I don't think necessarily that everybody's going to become like the perfect person. I think people will start to feel more and more comfortable, as socially we feel more and more comfortable with different body shapes as well. So again, it like kind of reflects where the community is at.
Yeah.
You know, where we are as humans.
Yeah, that's great to hear. One of my questions was around the fashion ecosystem supply chain and kind of how it's mirroring real life and how it's different from real life. I guess that's kind of a big question, but
yeah, like the fast fashion and all of the things that are happening just from an environmental standpoint.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
So I think the nice thing about digital fashion is there is no supply chain. You basically get on that, you know, creators create them, you buy them, it's a complete digital transaction. There's no need to go out and, you know, acquire labor from across the world to build, you know, cheap fabrics that you can build clothing that is going to fall apart. Like that's all the stuff that we're concerned about. So I think that's interesting. Now, of course, you can't wear those items out in the real world, but like I said before, our world and our lives are becoming much more digital. So it's not surprising to me at all that we see digital only fashion design starting to make it's coming up. We work really closely. One of our partners is Ouroboros. They're an amazing digital only fashion design house. And we're actually working with them on a pretty exciting contest that's going to be opening up in the next month or so, where they're going to take their digital designs, like their elements of their digital design, and they're going to provide sort of a mood board, lookbook, textures to our creators and ask them to co-create with them using their base textures, new and never been done before kinds of fashions. And then that will be a contest for who has the best fashion. And then that will be minted as NFTs and sold on InView, for example. That's a great process, right? So then I can go through that, be creative as the creator, but then the recipients are the users who are interacting in this world, who can just express themselves any way they want. Now, that doesn't ever touch the physical world, but it is truly meaningful fashion. So I think you'll see a lot of really interesting collaborations start to come out, not just in fashion design, but also in interior design and architecture.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And you mentioned how many spaces are in InView. That's really incredible.
I mean, there's everything from you can go on a jet ski and, you know, go around like an island kind of environment, or you can be in a nightclub, or you can be, I don't know, like in a home, with multiple levels and you're moving around. So it's fascinating to see how our creators, there's very little limit to what you can actually create within a 3D modeling space. So we see a lot of really interesting, either fantasy or real life applications. Sometimes it's like city blocks and you're walking around outside. So it can be, the metaverse can kind of be anything. And on our With Me product, we have the concept of rooms as well. And what's interesting about where I think metaverse properties are going and where With Me is going, for example, is we're building on the Unreal platform, not only the ability for creators to make clothing and room type objects, but also to create experiences. We have the ability, for example, to come onto that platform and play trivia together, or come onto that platform and solve an escape room together, for example. So there's a lot of really interesting stuff that is coming as we continue to build out the metaverse, and we're really, really invested in using our many, many years of experience and applying it not only to our existing platform, but building new and interesting platforms as well.
And one thing that caught my eye when I was reading about this was zero gas fees. So what does that mean? And what is the implication of that in the short term and the long term?
Right. So in addition to having a true commitment to authentic human connection and building these metaverse spaces that make sense for humans, as we introduce the blockchain, we're very, very committed to environmental sustainability, right? So there's the way that the blockchain works is to check whether something is owned by a person. It goes out and checks the blockchain and comes back. There's a certain amount of energy and power that's required to do that. But for us, because of the way that we've integrated our NFTs into the InView platform, which is what we're in the middle of building now, we'll be launching later this year, there are no processing fees for any of the work that's happening on the platform. So as users mint NFTs, sell and resell NFTs, there will be no what's called gas fees, which is this fee that is charged against going out and checking on ownership, because we have worked with our partner, Immutable X. It's a platform that not only allows for us to do this kind of minting and transaction work without going all the way out to to check the blockchain, but also when we do have to check, they offset all of that gas fee with carbon credits. So it's carbon neutral. So we're really important. To us, it's really important to build for the long term. And everything that we're looking at and doing is built for the long term. And I think that's an important thing to think about, because everybody out there has heard of Metaverse and has heard about NFTs. I would say by now, probably 80 or 90% of people out there know what they've heard those words, but they're really confused about what it is, because there's a lot of talk out there in the media space and amongst people about these get rich quick schemes, these NFTs that sell for millions of dollars. As we've gotten into thinking about blockchain on InView, we've made sure that we're thinking for the long term. This is not a get rich quick scheme. The reason why we're bringing blockchain in is because it's going to empower our creators to be able to own their own work and get royalties from it. And it's going to empower buyers to be able to resell and claim the true ownership that they have of that product. It's not about get rich quick. Most of our anticipation is that most of the NFTs on our platform are going to sell for, reasonable prices. And if they increase in value, it might be because they're rare, but it is not, sort of a get rich quick, like let's buy this one thing and see if we can turn it and dump it for a quick profit. I don't think that's the way that I don't think that's the true value for NFTs. That's what some people have done. And some of them have been set up as scams. That's not what we're about.
And will people be able to eventually bring the NFTs off platform or into other platforms?
Eventually they will. That is we're actually doing a phased approach to our NFT rollout. So by the time we get through, so we're starting with just launching NFTs integrated. And the thing I want to make sure everybody understands is that we're not creating a separate NFT marketplace. We're building NFTs into our existing marketplace. And that's a real difference. There's not anybody out there that's doing this. We already sell millions of dollars worth of virtual goods on our marketplace every month. Billions of transactions, like lots and lots of, this is a thriving economy. Inside of this economy, we're going to be able to, you'll be browsing through the store and some of the items will be NFTs and some will not. And that's just, it's just another option for everyone in the store. So I think it's really important for everybody to realize we're approaching this super in depth, and it's taking us a while to kind of make sure that it's right. We're actually working with our creator and our user community as we build this out to get feedback and understanding and educate as we build these. So you're going to be able to acquire NFTs and move through the process. It's super easy to transact. It's as easy as buying a regular virtual good. You just click to buy. You're buying with a virtual currency we have called Vcoin, which has been on our site for almost 2 years. It's a stable coin. It is not a speculative coin. It is a coin that is just always going to stay where it is. And you would transact by your NFTs. If later on you decide you want to resell it, it's a click to resell it in that same environment. So that's how we're approaching it.
That's amazing. Very cool. And I love that you're working with your users and really listening to them. I think that's such an important element that companies, it's kind of never been more important to listen to what people actually want in these spaces and be able to respond and be able to be agile and flexible to deliver that. So it's very cool that you guys are looking at multiple different aspects in that whole ecosystem.
Absolutely.
So where do you think the metaverse is going to be a year from now? And where do you think it'll be about 5 years from now? What are going to be the major differences that we see?
I think a year from now, I think brands and people are going to start to understand a little bit more of what the metaverse truly is, right? It feels like something so new and different, but actually, if you're a Gen Z or Gen A person, you grew up in games as an avatar playing your entire life. Like it was just, it's you know, we're well beyond digital natives at this point. Now we have like metaverse natives that are coming up, right? So they get that. The rest of the world is needing to catch up to that. And also our models and our business models and all of that need to catch up with it, because the technology is starting to allow for, you know, thousands of people to get together in a digital space and, you know, wear these items, own these items, trade things, you know, and not only within a game. So sometimes it's just, you know, maybe it's something that you're doing in a work setting. Maybe it's something that you're doing in a social setting. And we have people that come on our platforms just to hang out and chat or to watch videos together. It's a way to chill out, you know, or it's a way to have a party. Like it's totally up to you. So I can see over the next year, we're just going to continue to educate more and more people on what the metaverse means, because some people that have never been in that space, maybe they have children that have been in these metaverse spaces or games. They're like, I don't know if I've ever been in a metaverse. I've gotten that question before. I'm like, I don't know. Have you ever played a game? It's a little bit similar. So you're going to see more and more metaverse properties. And that's been the trend actually up until now, where we've got game properties like Roblox and Fortnite, realizing that people come there to socialize as well and kind of glomming social onto it. So they're kind of finding ways to get people to be social around the game, which is great. Or you've got properties like you've got an InView property whose our native thing is social. And we do have some games and activities and things that you can do. And With Me is the same way. So it kind of depends on what you want to do. I also think the trend is going to be not one metaverse to rule them all, right? If you think about your real life, do you always go to the same place every time? No. So I think that there's plenty of opportunities if you want to do gaming or you're playing a game, you're in Fortnite, if you want to just socialize, you're hanging out in InView, wherever it is. But I think that there's a lot of room for not just one, but many. And that gets to your next question about where the metaverse will be in 5 years or more, right? people need to easily be able to transact and move between these places. So that is what I think is going to, and it will be tricky to build because each of these platforms in 3D are in and of themselves complex. So it is not an easy thing to take an avatar from one platform to the next, to the next, and the next, and all of the items that come with it. But blockchain is a key part of that process. It will be a standard that allows us to share properties across multiple platforms. So each of the metaverse properties that are starting to evolve need to work together. You know, we're starting to join standards organizations and things as we start to think about what interoperability means and how we're actually going to achieve some of those things. So it'll be interesting to see how that takes off.
Definitely. Yes. It's so exciting how it is all kicking off. So very cool. And just for your final thought, what is your biggest hope for the future of this industry?
So my hope is really clear, and this is why I've been involved in this business for a while, is that I actually believe that everybody focuses on the wrong thing. There's a lot, not saying it's all wrong, but it's like the focus is on the bright, shiny technical objects. It's the VR, it's the this, it's the that. Everybody talks about that. But what I would say is really going to make or break any of these technologies is about how the social fabric within those properties, right? So if you are going to think about what we are just experiencing, the sort of, I don't know, I hopefully we're at the end game of the social media thing that has taken us to places that we're not, or have not really been healthy for us as a society, as a community, as a world. So let's think about how we need to remake that. Let's think about how humans socialize, right? Let's make sure that these platforms take that into account, that are, human by design, safety by design, earning by design. Think about ways in which we can empower people in these new digital spaces that we are architecting and building and spending more time in. That's my hope, is that we have an equal focus on technology and human connection, because without both of those things, you're going to have a lopsided thing. And I think people need to get involved now, because if we could have gotten out in front of social media earlier, maybe we could have changed the trajectory of that development. So
that's such a good point and a really nice place to end on. So thank you so much for your time today. If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Best way is like to hit up my LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, and also, togetherlabs.com, MetaJuice.com. You can reach all of us there. We're out there all the time, and we're out there talking a lot too. So, Amelia, It was really a pleasure hanging out with you. This was really fun.
Yeah, it has been fun. And next time we'll do it in InView.
I love it. Let's do it.
Yeah, fabulous. Okay. I look forward to it. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel. I have some fantastic interviews coming up where I'm going to be talking to some of the creators who are earning inside these spaces. So stay tuned. Take care.